Good afternoon. I'm Jon Lehtinen with GE, and as is tradition with GE presentations, our legal department has requested I say that all the opinions expressed in this presentation are my own and not theirs or any of their subsidiaries. And with that out of the way, I'm the service delivery leader for SSO integrations. I take the authentication and authorization solutions delivered by our solutions team, and I pair those with the needs of our customers. I work with customers to bring their apps into our ecosystem to consume our shared service. And even talking at the conference here about what I do, the concept of SSO integrations as a group or a team is met with some skepticism. And one time at a volunteer event for junior achievements, a school child asked me what I did, and I said, without a hint of irony at the time, that I take the solutions from our engineers, give them to our customers, and I take the requests from our customers and deliver them once again to the engineers. And at that moment, I had an epiphany. And that's only getting more and more reaffirmed the more I speak with people here. It's not quite immediately apparent the value of an integrations team may have. It could seem kind of like a middleman between whatever SSO team or delivery team you have and the customers. But in my experience, SSO integrations team will help pull you out of something I call the solutions trap. This is where you deliver an identity solution that's so good, before you know it's the only thing you're doing. For me, this happened in 2011 with SAML. I delivered SAML at a former gig I was in, and it took off like hotcakes. And before I knew it, it was the only thing I was doing. Day after day of third-party software as a service integrations, because in 2011, all of a sudden, all of our third parties suddenly knew how to consume a SAML token. But the real detrimental thing about the solutions trap is that it paralyzes you from delivering the next big thing in the solution space. When you start talking about an organization as large as GE, this problem gets compounded because not only is your solutioning paralyzed from the perspective of one organization, once you start to consider a dozen BUs with tens of thousands of SSO endpoints and touch points and applications, the problem just continues to grow in scale. Traditionally, most organizations, in my experience at least, offer or break down responsibilities for SSO delivery and creation by having a solutions team. They're the smarty pants who engineer the solutions. I work with Steve Hutchinson quite closely. I've been working a lot more with Matt Cochran as of late from Enterprise Security Architecture. Smart guy, go see his talk. And the operations team, which makes sure that these solutions are available to the enterprise. When I showed up at GE, it was into a vaguely SSO-ish role. And the split of operations, or the split of responsibilities between solutions and operations, those two teams followed distinct verticals all the way up until the VP level. So there was some attempts at collaboration in between the middle, some pretty squishy attempts, but nothing that really had managerial backing or the elegance of something like, say, DevOps. And even for this, I would argue that DevOps may not be the be-all, end-all for considering the scale of solution delivery when we're talking about something like GE, because this service bus we have for SSO, it is not a single technological branch. It's not, here's our service, consume it as is. It's very customer-centric. We need to deliver our solution as the customers will consume them. And so we need to be able to be flexible enough to offer these solutions at a scale to how our customers demand them from us. So considering the solutions team hand in this, they have a particular hard lot. Because not only do they have to deliver solutions at the pace that the enterprise demands they deliver, but also at the pace that our industry at large requires. And that's because identity isn't solved yet. We're closer, but this isn't like, say, networking, right, where you take a packet of information from port A to port B. That has long ago been solved in an industry repeatable and accepted fashion a long time ago. Please don't blow up my Twitter with hate on that. But identity, on the other hand, that's why we're here. We're still considering all these solutions, and they have to move not only at the pace to deliver something like a tokenized-based solution, but whatever's coming next, as well as balance the needs of the enterprise for whatever modifications to the existing solutions they already have. We often joke the solutions likes to throw what they got over the fence to whoever's willing to operationalize them. And this isn't out of malice. This is out of necessity. Similarly, in a proper global enterprise, the sun's not going to set on your identity infrastructure. And it's always peak usage time somewhere along the globe. So between break fixes, liaisoning with other operations team, patching schedules, things of that nature, keeping a real world-class enterprise identity infrastructure operating smoothly is already beyond a full-time job. So this is where this whole integration solutions comes in. So we created a third designation, that of integrations. It straddles both solutions and operations to deliver all the solutions to all the applications all the time. It's the last mile for customers to come and plug their applications, APIs, and what have you into our SSO service, broadly speaking. What this means, practically speaking now, is we have a single black box to approach. We have this integrations team for customers and all the business units to come into. And now the solutions and operations team don't need to bother themselves with caring too much about the one single Siebel implementation used by a site out of Tuscany who also needs to have access to a legacy LDAP for customer attributes. That becomes integration's concern. Solutions and operations are free to take care of their respective concerns. Because in a conference like this, we tend to get really focused on this platonic ideal of how identity at scale, both consumer and enterprise, is going to look. And we tend to forget that the reality is we support organizations and app teams that are realistically about 5 to 10 years, many times, behind the times on modern identity solutions. So regardless of what we come up with here, there's always going to be that need to look backwards to bring them into your fold. So this operations and integrations team and solution split lets you continue to strive and reach and be agile enough to reach for that future state while still being able to service everybody at whatever their level of identity maturity. So SSO team, we bought in quickly. Leadership, not so much. And we saw some results quickly. But it did take some time for this program to start bearing real fruits. And we'll get to some metrics in a moment, such as the improved cadence of solution delivery. Here's a timeline of what I'll call our modern identity initiatives at GE. Roughly speaking, around 2008, we proof of concept SAML. Years passed, and according to people who are my elders, they say around 2011 is when SAML became an accepted, established, familiar solution for everybody. The rub being how it was delivered. Each one of these was still being run like a project, requiring a solutions team member to partner with a business or app owner in order to bring this new SAML integration into the fold. Well, the pace of federated identity is out of necessity going to explode because our executive leadership announced that we're going to be vanguards at shutting down data centers and transitioning applications to the cloud. So out of necessity, the things we use to secure our infrastructure before are going to be converted into a federated model. And shortly thereafter, we launched this Modern Integrations Initiative. From here, something pretty neat happened. Because shortly thereafter, we operationalized SAML, by which I mean the engagements became quick. They became repeatable in that everyone knew how to then engage the team for your SAML integration. It wasn't a knockdown, drag-out project. This freed our solutions team to work on new proof of concepts, such as OAuth and tokenized security. Then, running with a good thing, they're able to do the same with OpenID Connect. And based on the strength of how we operationalize SAML, we were able to expand our service offering to operationalize OAuth via this integrations team paradigm. And shortly thereafter, OpenID Connect. We weren't waiting years between milestones for when we got a new solution presented to the business. Now, all the while, we've had in the background since time immemorial agent-based web access management as the old-style standard for how we were securing apps. And we took some time while we were doing this to go ahead and work on some solutions to help them scale up. But since it is all agent-based, we decided to tackle agent-based self-service, trying to help infrastructure and server teams understand this agent living on their web server so that they themselves could install it, register it, support it. And we also partnered with some infrastructure teams So to try to get some cross-pollination amongst enterprise infrastructure teams for things like chef scripts, so they could deploy at scale as part of this cloud initiative, infrastructure that was ready to consume a federated token. And in terms of results, this might look familiar if you went to Dan Hedrick's presentation earlier. Here's our prod SAML integrations. In terms of cash money apps delivered to the business, here's all the ones for prod SAML since 2008. It took them 5.5 years to get to 400. By partnering with our integrations team, we and the solutions team, well, the solutions integrations partnership was able to drive that closer to 1,000 in the following 18 months. 5.5 years to get to 400, another 18 months to go to 1,000. We saw similar things going on with OAuth and OpenID Connect. Now, these are younger, but in the first 11 months, we hit about 300 clients. In the intervening 3 months, we're around 800 or so. OpenID Connect has very few data points, and so the mathematicians in the audience will yell at me about statistically significant sampling sizes, but the bend is there, so I'm going to chalk it up as a win. So beyond the scale of delivery, one of the neatest things about this program is the pace at which we're able to convert something from proof of concept to an operationalized solution. So here's SAML. It took us 6 years. We set up this integrations and solutions partnership. OAuth went from proof of concept to operationalized solution, 11 months. OpenID Connect, 4 months. It's not enough that we deliver a lot of programs, but we need to be able to take new technologies which don't exist yet and get them moving from proof of concept to an operationalized solution consumable by the business. Because we're moving to the cloud, and we have a whole lot of work ahead of us. And while we're mucking this stable, we're going to need to look towards whatever future state solution we have available to us so we can use a proper federated identity solution. Now, beyond just the scale of delivery, we took this opportunity to start building a nice positive feedback loop. The integrations team interacts much more frequently and a much narrower scope compared to our solutions team. So we're able to take those real user stories and improve our solutions, going back to our solutions team, because solutions teams would offer us solutions, such as OpenID Connect. We'd add those into our service library to deliver them fast until we'd bump into a customer or a use case where it was not serviced. And so we either needed to come up with something new, solution on our own, or better yet, partner again with solutions to find how we're going to solve for that particular use case. At which point, we go ahead and transfer it back to our integrations team as part of our standard solutions offering. Being able to drive refinement and our future roadmap based on real customer stories is one of the primary benefits of this solutions integrations model. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We learned some lessons along the way. We did waste a lot of time chasing the unicorn of a standard and repeatable integration. Our thinking was we could have our integrations team operate as some sort of L1, L2-ish thing to solutions as an L3. Maybe we'd have some customer-facing people who could distill app requirements down into something very narrowly defined that then a low-cost team could bang out in an admin console somewhere and then expect that all to work, driving every single person to these established solutions with no variation. That was an abject failure because as long as we're customer-centric, we allow our customers, and frankly, we need to service our customers in this, as long as we allow them to have their own platforms, their own design considerations, and their own need for how they want to consume identity, there's going to be a layer of creative thinking in each integration. Lots of them may be standard-ish and repeatable-ish, but these solutions that we're getting and operationalizing are much more accurately described as adaptable and reusable. Each customer comes with us with a defined need, and we have this approximately shaped thing we can shove into that gap. And with enough massaging and partnership with them, we get them connected. I already spoke about our black box. I'm out of water. It's going to get real now. I already spoke about our black box for the business. Business customers love it because it gives them a nice, repeatable engagement process for how to get their apps integrated. The app owners often don't consider their identity needs until they're literally told by a security review that they have to consume identity somehow. So this gives them a repeatable and easily shareable process in which to engage with one of our offered solutions. And when we started this, we only had one solution. We quickly grew it to several. And during this entire time where we were growing and maturing this, my team is the same team. Oh, thank you. We never grew in manpower or anything like that, but what has to be admitted here is that it was admittedly a very large team, to the tune of about 22 people. So my little black box here is actually more of a mechanical Turk reliant upon a lot of manpower. Now, I work with some very, very fantastic people. And they're very efficient manpower. We touch to the tune of 600 applications, migrating them, modifying, or deploying applications across all of our technology stacks, across all of our domains per month. We're very high bandwidth, but we find we don't have the time to take our big team and focus on some sort of self-improvement model within integrations as much as we'd like. We're constantly stymied in our efforts to get small and deliver on some automatable solutions for a significant portion of our service library, which is proprietary web access management, which I'm going to kick around for a little bit here. Following this thread a little bit further, we have a pretty hard time trying to get some real efficiency gains out of agent-based web access management. And though we've made efforts to improve agent self-service and automation on that, what we gain in terms of scale and speed relative to the effort is not worth it. And that, again, speaks to us here in the industry that we need to hold our vendors accountable. We need to demand solutions from them, which are standards-based, which scale like crazy comparatively. And us, inside of our industries, we need to, again, we need to emphasize and make it very palatable to our customers these same standard-based solutions. Because conversely, these modern solutions that use federated and token-based identity, we already have templated, thanks to the work of brilliant people like, again, Matt, Justin McMichael, wholly self-service, API-based provisioning of a SAML or OpenID connection. No integrations team required. So I'm not so scared about my job in this, but that is cool because that'll let us get to the cloud fast. And I'm not going to advocate for an integrations team any longer than is absolutely useful, strictly speaking. I think we would be able to be in a good position in our industry to say that identity is much closer to a solved problem if we didn't need to take into such consideration each individual use case, that everything really was single-touch API-based provisioning. So via this integrations paradigm, which hopefully now you guys understand a little bit better, we've been able to pull GE out of the solutions trap. We've been able to scale to the speed that is required to get us to the cloud and to continue our normal business as usual operations. And I would encourage those struggling with questions of scale and migrations to consider this integrations model as something they can adapt there. Because we're always going to need to service, to an extent, those backwards-facing technologies. And as long as our businesses and customers demand that we deliver all the solutions, all the applications, all the time, even those applications which are a little backwards in how they consume their identity, this integrations team may be your ticket. Any questions? Yeah, enjoy that on your recording. Oh, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and let Matt speak to that someday. But so care of APIs, I mean, just really high level, care of APIs, thanks to some standards-based solutions we have provided by the vendor of said conference. We are able to call those APIs to actually provision or have people call and pull metadata, set the entity IDs, et cetera. It gets a little more elegant once you get away from metadata exchange. Again, I'm just going to direct you over to Matt and probably Dan as very good resources on how that's going to work. Excuse me? What would you say? Right on. Any other questions? Let's go with you first, and then we'll hit you right there. Of course. Okay, so the question is, how do we integrate applications that already have their own identities built in into our normal standard SSO framework? Well, I meet with a lot of people who do this internally, and what I say is, well, you better start, if you're not going to adapt wholesale into SSO IDs, then you should probably think really long and hard about how you plan on mapping your existing user silos to our centralized SSO ID service. Well, our principal goal is, with SSO, generally speaking, is user experience and some level of security for access. So if on the back end, a team has their own identity store, more like mapped user accounts, and as long as we're able to provide a nice decision point or go, no-go based on authentication for our SSO ID as part of our central service, how they then reconcile the grants for those local accounts is up to them, assuming they can pass an audit by our security teams. We're not quite so mature as to be able to offer somebody a nice canned solution that fixes the ugliness beneath the surface on the app level. Someday we'll probably have to get to there, but for the scales we're talking about, I'm really happy we don't have to do that right now. In the blue? So I'm lucky because from my perspective, I don't have to be the enforcement mechanism. I wait for people to be driven to me, into my open arms, and I will welcome them into my stable, but I cannot integrate those who are not willing. So I leave it to CTOs and CIOs and CISOs of the businesses to crack that whip and then get them stampeding to me, at which point I try to make the engagement process as painless as possible. But I'm not the guy cracking the whip.